Straight ahead on WBKB, one Republican congressman is in hot water after an associate takes a plea deal.
Plus, amid some good news, health experts say there's still more work to do on the vaccine front. And we take you on a new historical walking tour in Alpena.
You're watching Thunder Bay News Network. WBKB News at 6 starts now.
This is WBKB News at 6. An in-depth look at news, weather, and sports. From hard-hitting news stories to local events, we're there with coverage you can count on. You're watching WBKB News at 6.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Tyler Cruz.
And I'm Sherry Stewart. An associate of Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz pleaded guilty to federal charges today, including sex trafficking a minor, as part of a cooperation agreement.
Yeah, Sherry, but Gaetz, a Florida representative who is facing his own federal investigation, insists the plea deal has nothing to do with him. Skylar Henry has more.
Joel Greenberg, an associate of Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz, promised to fully cooperate with prosecutors as he pleaded guilty in federal court to 6 charges, including child sex trafficking and wire fraud.
Mr. Greenberg has pled guilty pursuant to a plea agreement. It has certain requirements and obligations on him, and he intends to honor that.
In his plea agreement, Greenberg, a former Seminole County tax collector, admits being involved in sugar daddy relationships where he paid women for sex, including a minor that he introduced to other adult men who engaged in commercial sex acts. Multiple sources told CBS News one of those men was Congressman Gaetz, who is facing a Justice Department investigation looking into whether he had a sexual relationship when the girl was 17, something Gaetz has repeatedly denied. The Florida congressman has not been indicted, and a spokesperson noted Mr. Gaetz was not named nor referenced in Mr. Greenberg's plea. Greenberg also admitted to a smear campaign against former political opponent, high school teacher Brian Butte.
I want to see all crime, all corruption rooted.
One of the smear tactics was faking claims of an unwanted sexual relationship between Butte and a student. A Gaetz spokesman reacted to the plea deal, saying Joel Greenberg has now confessed to falsely accusing an innocent man of having sex with a minor. Above the courthouse, a plane pulled a banner reading "TikTok Matt Gaetz," but the congressman seems undaunted by the scandal. He rallied last week with fellow Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene and addressed an Ohio political summit this weekend where he reportedly told the crowd he is being falsely accused. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
President Biden is expected to come to Michigan on Tuesday. Biden plans to visit Ford's new plant in Dearborn, making his first visit to the Detroit area. The president plans to visit the Ford Rogue Electric Vehicle Center for a tour of the facility and a preview of their new vehicle. On Wednesday, Ford plans to unveil their all-electric truck, the F-150 Lightning. This ties to Biden's infrastructure plan of limiting carbon emissions.
The CDC says more than half of U.S. adults have received at least one COVID-19 vaccination dose, and that's the good news. The bad news, daily vaccination rates are slipping. Dr. Ebony Hilton says one of the daily challenges of healthcare professionals is easing concerns and gaining confidence from the millions who still have yet to be vaccinated.
I know the narrative early on in this pandemic was that COVID-19 only impacts the old and only impacts those that are sick, but that is simply not true. We're seeing that younger and younger populations are succumbing to COVID-19. They're dying at younger ages, and also they're ending up in the hospital.
Dr. Hilton says 36% of all hospital admissions nationwide are COVID-19 patients less than 50 years old. She says those who continue to remain unvaccinated are putting themselves at risk of contracting the virus. A new statewide poll says more than 70% of Michigan residents are vaccinated or in the process of getting vaccinated. The Protect Michigan Commission, which helped authorize the survey, says they are looking at opportunities to partner with the Small Business Administration and other statewide groups to increase vaccine access points across Michigan. The city of Alpena promoted 4 new firefighters today.
Yes, Sherry. 3 lieutenants and 1 fire captain took their oaths of office at the Public Safety Building this afternoon.
This is a really big day for the Alpena Fire Department.
4 Alpena fire commanders got to celebrate a promotion today in front of their families.
Family in EMS and fire is essential, is huge. They are the ones that keep you going. They are the ones on a bad day that make everything better.
Morrison is one of 3 firefighters being promoted to lieutenant. He is joined by Tyler Suzek and Daniel Hibner, while Brett Miller assumed the role of fire captain.
It's an honor to be promoted with the other 3 individuals. That to be in that ranks is an honor.
The 4 of them will make up the majority of the command staff for the next several years.
So this is the whole first line supervision crew, and a third of the captains are addressed right here today. And all of them are very, very strong firefighters and do a great job for us.
And for many of these men, giving back is at the root of it all.
I am what we want to call a helper. I like to help and fix. So what better situation to be in than a firefighter paramedic?
They started off in the volunteer world, got involved to help give back to the community, and then just moved up from the volunteer to the full-time, and it's been a great move for me.
Chief Forbush says they used an assessment center to make these promotions for the first time, and he's excited to bring positive change to the department. Congratulations to those 4.
Absolutely, great job.
Excited to continue serving Alpena.
I'm sure they are. The Alpena Library's Special Collections added a new historical tour to its roster. Reporter Kent Davis has more.
Did you know that this parking lot was once home to the Alpena Methodist Episcopal Church? That's one of the many facts you can learn by taking the Special Collections' new Places of Worship tour. The Alpena Library offers a number of audio tours through the Special Collections Department. Its latest, Alpena's Places of Worship, released on the Izzy.travel app last Friday. This tour takes the listener on a 4-mile journey through the formation of Alpena's religious congregations in the mid to late 1800s. Don LaBar, head of Special Collections, says he learned a lot about Alpena's ethnic diversity during the research process.
They weren't originally English speaking, they were speaking their mother tongue. So like Grace Lutheran, for example, the majority of its congregation was Norwegian. Everything's in Norwegian until about 1920s or so, and then it switches to English.
LaBar told WBKB a request to cover multiple faiths from the Temple Bethel Synagogue inspired the project. He says he hopes this tour will help people learn more about the numerous cultures and histories that make up Alpena.
I think a lot of times people go like, oh, it's up north, it's northern Michigan, it's kind of homogenous, it's kind of singular history, and I want to show kind of the diversity and the different stories that are going on here, but I also want to highlight different stories than usually are focused on.
You can get the Izzy.travel app from Android or iOS. The library says they are planning many more tours in the future. Now, if you excuse me, I've got one to finish. In Alpena, Kent Davis, WBKB News.
Thanks for that, Kent. That looks fascinating.
Yeah, right? I want to go.
Me too.
Get outside.
LaBar says you can walk, bike, and even drive the tour. And thanks again for that, Kent.
Students in Alpena Community College's Machine Tool program are reaping the benefits from the school's accreditation. The program has become a center for testing and credentialing after receiving their accreditation. Instructor Andrew Pad says any institution can be a center for testing. ACC received their accreditation through the National Institute of Metalworking Skills. Pad explains the benefits of accreditation for the students.
We actually credential the students themselves, and it's a third-party credential, so they can leave here, and instead of just leaving with their degree or their certificate, they actually leave with a third-party credential that says they're skilled enough to achieve this credential in a certain skill.
Pad says students are trained and prepared for testing at the national level. He says they even make parts that are inspected through NMSA. Pad says another great benefit of the credentials is that it helps students become gainfully employed. That's very nice.
Very nice. Congratulations on that. More news ahead for you here on WBKB. Coming up, May is Foster Care Awareness Month. We'll introduce you to a local couple who has made a difference in the life of a child as well as their own. And we'll have your 7-day forecast next. Welcome back. May is National Foster Care Month. It's a time to show appreciation and gratitude to foster parents across the nation. Tonight, we're bringing you the story of one local couple who took foster parenting a step further. Meet the Kowalskis, Doug, Jazzy, and Jean. One happy family that became a larger happy family through foster care and ultimately adoption. Jean and Doug have 2 adult daughters. When their girls were teens, the Hubbard Lake couple decided to become foster parents. When Jazzy entered their lives through foster care, they decided to adopt her. Jean says it was the best decision ever.
So when we first thought about doing this, we did sit them down and say, you know, this is what we're thinking of doing. What do you think? And they were all for it. They were very excited about it.
Doug says while they had already raised teens, they decided to make a permanent difference in the life of one more child.
My initial reaction was uncertainty, I guess. But the more I thought about it, you know, life has been pretty good to us, and we just wanted to make a difference and give back. So we opted to pursue our license, and here we are.
And life as a Kowalski has been good for Jazzy. She's a happy 10-year-old who loves all her animals and is grateful to call Jean and Doug Mom and Dad.
Sometimes I like to just sit back here and watch them or take a walk back here. I like feeding these guys grass, and I think they enjoy it too. And during summer, I'll take my rabbit Larry, and I would sit in my old little lawn chair right here, watch these guys, and just hold him.
And that's how foster parents change lives, that of a child and their own. Such a beautiful story.
That was an awesome story. I love that.
Yeah. And in Michigan, Tyler, there are approximately 13,000 children in foster care and 300 children who still need an adoptive family. We want to thank the Kowalskis for sharing their story. Many of our viewers know that she is the principal at Hinks Elementary School, so again, thank you. And we have this story posted on our website at WBKB11.com with a link to where you can find out more about becoming a foster parent.
Just an awesome story again.
Yeah.
Another concerning activity that spiked during the pandemic, and a blood pressure warning for middle-aged women. Elise Preston has some of the day's top health stories.
Middle-aged women are being urged to check their blood pressure to avoid heart attacks. Researchers in Norway found women with mildly elevated blood pressure in their 40s have twice the risk of acute coronary syndromes in their 50s. The American Academy of Pediatrics is warning of the consequences of air pollution on children's health. Data shows it can make chronic diseases like asthma worse and is also associated with abnormal lung and neurodevelopment, cancer, obesity, and cardiovascular disease. The Academy is recommending pediatricians know pollution issues in their area and advocate for better environmental policies. And gamblers upped their ante online during lockdown. A study out of the UK found regular gamblers were more than 6 times more likely to gamble online than before the pandemic. Researchers were also troubled by a strong link between increased online gambling and heavy drinking. Those are some of the day's top health stories. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
Sports is coming up next, but first, Jake Vandenbroek is here with a preview. Jake, what's going on tonight?
Next in sports, Posen softball returns to their own diamond as they collide with Whittemore Prescott. Early highlights of Game 1, and no quarterback needed throughout the Lions rookie minicamp. You'll hear from head coach Dan Campbell on that decision with WBKB News at 6.
That's all we have for you this evening.
You can read more about our broadcast stories and get the scoop on other news items online.
Just visit WBKB11.com for sports, weather, and news updates anytime, day or night.
And check us out on our Facebook page and Twitter handle at WBKB11.
Be sure to catch us back here tonight at 11 with Stephanie Manici. Have a great evening.